The song in the background is Redbone by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. It was a massive song for him, his first ever #1 single on Billboard, and has gone on to be loved and critically acclaimed by many. Now, you probably know the song well, but there's something hidden away that you might not know about. Something that gives this song a very unique sound. The secret isn't new. Coincidentally, it's been used by thousands of South African Maskandi artists for decades. It goes without saying that music has been around for millennia. I mean, the earliest known musical instruments are estimated to be around 40,000 years old. And as it's developed, we ourselves have developed an ear for what is considered to be musically correct. But the strange thing is, the definition of correct changes depending where in the world you're actually listening from and how you've been educated to listen to that music. So, for example, notes that might sound acceptable to a Western ear will differ to those incorporated into traditional Indian or African music. So how does this apply to Gambino's Redbone? Well, most Western music is performed using the tuning standard of 440 Hertz. Now, you don't need music theory here, but a quick breakdown is that Hertz means per second, and therefore refers to 440 vibrations per second of that sound wave. And Redbone, well, it breaks this mold, because rather than being tuned at 440, it's tuned at 432 Hertz. I know it might sound minor, but even with zero musical understanding, your ears actually do a really good job of picking up that something is different. We've been so brainwashed into hearing music at 440 Hertz that when we hear it in any other tuning, we tend to notice it. So you might not be able to put your finger on why it exactly sounds a little bit different, but there is a certain quality that you're able to pick up. So for example, when reviewing the song, Rolling Stone magazine said that it felt kind of psychedelic and spacey. Perhaps this is why. It should be pointed out that Redbone's producer, a gent by the name of Ludwig Göransson, is by no means the first person to mess with the tuning of a track. Some of the other songs included in this list is Omi's Hula Hoop, Rude by Magic, Tracy Chapman's Fast Cars. All use this technique to give a rather unique sound to their tracks. Now, you might have figured out where I'm going with this because of how I started this clip. Because there's another genre which incorporates non-standardized tuning into its production. I'm talking about Maskandi. And when I say these artists change the tuning, that is one hell of an understatement.
But I thought after studying Chimidudu, I knew everything there is to know about that kind of tuning, and I knew nothing.
This is Simlitsigiti. He is a studio musician, which means he's expected to play multiple different genres as well as styles, depending on what each artist he works with needs and wants for that specific track. And I wanted to find out why tuning for Maskandi is so unique.
This particular note rings all the way. Like, it keeps ringing. And the only way to get the ringing going while you're changing chords is to have open strings. But now when you do your standard tuning with open strings, you don't get that note. So now what you're forced to do, you have to tune the guitar for that note on that one string, so that when you play it, it rings constantly while you're changing the other notes. And that was the beginning, man.
As you can hear, one of the most notable differences with Maskandi guitar technique is the way in which the guitar is tuned. A true Maskandi genius guitarist is typically fiercely protective over their tuning style, as this forms a significant part of not only their identity, but also their sound. And it's not just Maskandi, you can see this in Batkanga artists as well, as they adapt the instrument to what they need it to do, telling their story in a very unique way. Now, this is because of two reasons. One, it's so that people can remain identifiable, but two, is because of the oral culture that this music was created amongst. A lot of these artists didn't have what you might consider to be traditional training, but rather it was taught and handed down from artist to artist, or as one individual taught themselves how to play the instrument in their own specific way. In order to be able to play the guitar sections of another Maskandi artist's songs, you would first need to be able to find the tuning of those tracks before you even attempted to look at phrasing combinations or the musical melody or rhythm of that song. Now, because it is so unique, I was interested to find out how Simlet, as someone with a jazz background, approached non-traditional tuning and how he was able to adjust his ear to understand the sound.
So what then the ear does, it gets used to the Western way of tuning, like the 440 Hertz kind of thing. So I started getting used to that a lot. And when I started guitar, like perfect tuning never used to bother me. Like I'm close. I can hear stuff. It's close enough. Let's go. When I got to school, like a year later, I can't stand a guitar that's off tune. Like I can hear the string that's off tune. I'll tell you that, dude, that's not 440. Like it's not. Like if we had to play with violins, that stuff is going to sound horrible in the studio. But now you must unlearn that nonsense again, and go back to like the Maskandi, because Maskandi guys don't use tuners, So my ear had to now accept these quote-unquote unpleasant notes that were coming through from the Maskandi guys.
Although the genre has been around for decades, unfortunately after the 90s there was no real interest shown in the genre by youths or young people creating music. This was in part because of international influence of genres such as hip-hop, pop, R&B, as well as house. Added to the mix, you also have Kwaito that was popping up and becoming relevant amongst the youth at the time. And because of this, it put the future of Maskandi at risk going forward. But this could all be changing. You see, with artists such as Muzi who are applying Afrocentric beats to EDM, it means that we're bringing these sounds back into the spotlight. And there's a number of artists who are actually doing this. So, looking back at this style, while Childish Gambino might not have ever heard of KwaZulu-Natal or Maskandi for that matter, his breakaway from standard tuning might pave the way for our ears to adapt and understand the sound that little bit better, and perhaps next time a song comes out that does this, we will be better equipped to actually pick it up. So this has been BackBeat, giving you a bit of secrets behind the sounds that you already love.